From this to this.
You are all successful. Equally, each and every one of you here right now carries the same accountable success in your business, unless you choose otherwise.
Morning. So today I am going to interview a really influential businessman here in Wales. I'm pretty excited because
turn right, turn left.
He had a lot of influence for me in the early days in how to understand your mindset, and I make sure that you're at the right skills moving forward in yourself to run a successful business. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to be interviewing this amazing mindset businessman today. I'm getting to share that with you guys for sure.
Turn left,
So
turn right.
best get on my way and get concentrating on driving. Man, these storms have been chaotic, eh? It's blowing
left.
today. So you see, I've got my hat on that fits right well with my suits for sure. Anyway, catch you guys in a bit, eh? Okay, we've arrived. Sovereign House, the home of Dave Dean, one of Wales's, I must say, sought after entrepreneurs and wonderful man. So yeah, I'm here. So let's get in there. So here I am at Sovereign House, and I have what is probably one of my most senior mentors I've had in my 19 years in my own business, and I finally got you. So I am really stoked that we're going to share something amazing from this man's mind today. So let's crack on and get on with the interview, eh? 33 business up to date, and I'm sure that may be more. And that was 33 from my last count. I'm sure there's more than that. I'm sure Dave will bring me up to speed on that. But someone who has that kind of drive and influence, and let I say, this person knows how to run a mastermind process also. He really knows how to create a support system so vibrant and influential in people's lives that he doesn't know or doesn't get how many people are talking about Dave Dean in the business world.
First of all, can I say thank you, because you say the greatest things, Paul. You're very complimentary, but you're right. Any success that I get is very much reliant upon those around me, and so it's easy for that to sound very contrite, right? Mm-hmm. And genuinely, I would not be doing what I do today if it wasn't for those that support me.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for the kind words, but the credit goes to them, not to me.
And that there lines of a true leader. I mean, that's something you would hear from someone with a lot of integrity and a lot of authenticity, which I always regard that within yourself. Again, he's not taking any credit. Do you know what I mean?
But it's also something that somebody could bluff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's easy to say, but a wise man once said, integrity is what happens when no one's looking.
Wow, that is such a beautiful line.
And that's a really important thing. So it's easy for people to have a conversation like this, and for someone to claim modesty. You know, it really does depend on outside of environments like this, and especially when you're on your own.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, why? Because you can. Why does somebody climb a mountain? Why does somebody dive in the depths of the ocean? Yeah. Very often it's because it's there and it's a challenge. And coming from the Rhondda Valleys, then there was very little expectation of us as young people. You know, we were always expected to either go down the mines or to take a trade.
Yeah.
And so I remember going to a careers teacher one day, and the guy said to me, you know, what do you want to do, Dave? And I said, I want to be a helicopter pilot. And he said, really? You know, come on now. Let's set your heights, set your standards realistically, you know. And he steered me towards being a carpenter or a toolmaker, which I ended up becoming an apprentice printer, and then an apprentice toolmaker. And the thing is, I always had an aspiration to be my own boss, to be in control of what I earned, how I earned it and when.
Yeah.
And
And do you feel you achieved that sort of goal of, you know, what I earn, how I earn it, when I earn it, how my lifestyle is? Do you feel, because so many people run a business that become almost a sentence to that business. They become trapped in the work hard and almost share the privilege of having their own business, but actually don't share or live the lifestyle of what a business is designed really to do.
Yeah. You know, I think that the term lifestyle business has been badly used because everybody says it's a lifestyle. When you use the term, it's a lifestyle business, it's meant to describe somebody who's got no aspiration. Oh, I just want to earn this amount, and therefore it's almost used derogatorily, if that makes sense.
I see that.
But actually, I think it's the opposite. I think every business is a lifestyle business. It's just the level you set for your lifestyle. Yeah. So if you want a lifestyle business because you want to open a corner baker or a hairdressing salon or a carpentry shop, and all you want to do is 30, 40 hours a week, that's fine. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to work 80 hours a week because you want to set your lifestyle in a different way, maybe you want a holiday home in the Bahamas or you want to buy a yacht, then that's still a lifestyle, isn't it? Yeah. So when someone says, oh, have you got a lifestyle business? It's a really bad term to use because suddenly the person on the receiving end of that question almost feels defensive. Yeah. No? They almost feel like they're being punished for just setting their lifestyle at a certain level. Why is that wrong, though?
Do you think, Dave, that too much emphasis is put on the measure of money in a business to create the success of business, rather than upon the measure of how it's fulfilling someone's life?
Absolutely. You can fill your pockets with money, but you can't fill your heart. You can't fill your spirit, can you? It's got to be down to how happy you are, how content you are in the job. And that's not easy, especially in the last few years, as you know, Paul. There's
a lot of business envy now. You know, social media is really promoting that business envy, because there's a lot of synthetic rewards that people are putting out there. You know, their success of the business, how they've got through COVID, and even before those times. And you know, social media promoted this huge money return for running a business, and created, to say, that business envy. Now, you've been at this a long old time. And I say that in a very respectful way, because you know, you started at an early age. You come from, I'm going to say, a very unprivileged background, because you know, there wasn't a lot in your life when you were young. I remember you telling me your bed was a drawer, was a cabinet drawer.
Yeah, and that wasn't when I was 18, mind, right? That was only when I was a baby. But,
but that's just an incredible story. Yeah. But do you feel that as open as the country is to promoting your own business, there's also this social media manipulation almost of, you know, creating business envy?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think social media today is like the soap operas of 20, 30 years ago. Wow. Where, you know, there was a lifestyle portrayed. It was back in the day that they used to portray the kind of life you want, you know, you haven't got. And at the moment, I think social media is doing that to everybody. It's sometimes I dread switching social media on. I have to have it for business purposes. But some days I dread, as I'm scrolling through different social media channels, you know, even LinkedIn now, that was previously a business process. Now it's everybody's talking about, there's nothing to do with business, it's all personal. And we're getting a lot of almost heartstring stories, you know. And the difficulty then is that when somebody raises a question about that and says, hang on, is this the right platform to share that? Then they become ostracized for being uncaring and inconsiderate. So then what you have is you got these things go viral, not because they're genuinely of interest, but because you've now got an argument between those who want to promote this non-business conversation against those who are saying, this is really not the place to be discussing it. Yeah. And so I just think that I've started to turn off completely to the negativity that's in the world. But also, let me get this right as well, it's not just about the negativity, it's about the people who claim that their lives are absolutely perfect. which in turn then makes everyone else feel like they're missing out.
Yeah.
And they feel like, well, why is life so good for those people? And yet I'm suffering.
Yeah.
When the reality of it is we're all suffering. We're just we're living in a false world.
Yeah.
And that's really frustrating. I see a lot of young people suffering badly because of this. The mindset of youngsters at the moment is that they're seeing others achieving, but are they?
Yeah.
And that underlying doubt, to those who know, who can see through it, it's easy to just accept that, hey, maybe somebody's claiming more success than they're actually getting. But there's a lot of youngsters who are not seeing through that, and then they're suffering badly because they feel they're losing out.
When I first met you, I was a part of your mastermind process, and for me, I really learned the understanding of or the importance of quality thinking, and I'll say also business sense calculating is really understanding how to calculate your business, and you're a very generous person. I'll say that, you're an amazingly generous person with your time, with your mind, and with your heart. Very knowledgeable. You've read everything you need to read and more again, and we can't overemphasize the importance of reading for sure. But you feel that COVID has kind of created a restructure when our people are starting to think again. Before COVID, we could say the business world was pretty exhausted. The whole process of running a business was very exhausting. Now the world has become much smaller. Local is now the international, we could say, and COVID has created that.
Yeah.
It's made that happen. If you're not, then you need to shift. And do you think that this period has actually created a benefit back into the business world, where people having to, because everybody had to pivot in one way or another? Do you think it's created that quality of think back in again?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I think it certainly made us think. I think it's easy sometimes for us to become very complacent with life. And so we get used to the norm. What did everybody say in those early days? There's going to be a new norm.
Yeah.
So there's a Norman somewhere being very, very frustrated by that. But we do have new norms, but they're not quite the new norms I think we thought we were going to get, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people trying to get back to where they were. And I don't think that's ever going to be possible.
We are in a time where it's promoted, start your own business. We can do this, it's out there. Wales is very, very proactive in helping people get into run their own business and start that. But also, the moment you start, you go to company's house, you sign up your business, there it is, Paul Rees Business Coaching, in comes that module, and suddenly we're manipulating our module because of what we are seeing on social media. I mean, let's just dive back into that deep dive that we touched on, which is, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're not on a witch hunt here today, but what we are doing is just bringing in a real understanding of the cause and effect and that to the business mind.
We're constantly bombarded with guys leaning up against Lamborghinis or claiming to have the next six-figure business or the seven-figure business.
And there it is. You mentioned it right there. How many times you see that branded route? Six figures, 6 weeks, 6 figures. But it's just so manipulating that people are measuring business by money rather than actually by life.
Absolutely. We talked about lifestyle businesses, didn't we? And it's a term that's used derogatorily these days. So have you got a lifestyle business means that you haven't got anything big, it's not growing. You've got this little high street shop or a carpentry or a hairdressing salon or whatever you have. And people say it's a lifestyle business as if that's a negative thing.
Yeah.
But yet no business is, let me put that a different way. All business is a lifestyle business, no matter how big they are.
Yeah.
They just grow because the person behind them or persons behind them have set a different level to the lifestyle they want. So it's just still a lifestyle business. And we work differently to achieve those different things. But every business, in my opinion, is a lifestyle business.
Wow. Do you feel that, as digital technology helped the, success of business rate, or do you feel it's almost taking it away?
It's an interesting one. I think it depends on the kind of economy you want to work in.
Okay.
If you are delivering something that's a commodity that is perishable, for example, you know, if you're a baker, if you've got a florist, then it's difficult. Although we're now seeing fantastic businesses. I love. There's an online florist that I use, and I can send a bunch of flowers in a flat pack box. How cool is that?
Yeah.
That is fantastic. And everybody that I've ever sent these flowers to has contacted to say, absolutely beautiful. Within minutes of coming out of the box, they're in a vase or vase, whatever you want to call it, and suddenly these flowers are blooming, you know? Wonderful. Who would have thought that a few years ago, that we'd be sending flowers in a flat pack box that will get through the letterbox?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's just crazy, isn't it? I mean, Dave, you're a big ideas person. I mean, you are an ideas person for sure. Because again, I'm going to talk about your support system and the mastermind experience I had with yourselves. But do you think the quality of how young people are thinking now has really progressed, has really advanced?
I think the jury's out on that. What I would say is that there are businesses that are appearing now. There are different sectors. The online world now is making it very easy for young people to become entrepreneurs very quickly, very easily, raise large sums of money. Not always in the best sense. I mean, there's a number of websites that would encourage the kind of earning potential that I wouldn't be very happy to be involved in.
Can I jump in on that? Because that's an amazing insight. You know, when people make money quickly, you know, there has to be a money alignment. I believe that, you know, you can make money quickly, but if you're not aligned to money, you can lose it quickly also. There has to be a maturity within yourself to make money, do you believe? And so it's made with integrity. Money has a purpose, to share a message, to increase health and wealth. Let's not say wealth, to increase health. You know, and if a business person makes those big figures quickly, I found that they also lose it very quickly because of the lack of integrity that's been created behind making money.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's the speed and the ability for people to acquire wealth these days is phenomenal in certain aspects. Certainly with access to the internet, now our audience, now our customer base has gone from, in the Rhondda we've got, let's say Rhondda Cynnon Taff has, say, 200,000 people. But your audience now through the internet, through TikTok, through Facebook, through Instagram, through LinkedIn, all of these channels are now enabling you to connect with hundreds of thousands of people. My 19-year-old son has something like 6,000 contacts in his Facebook group. But they're not friends, are they? They're contacts. These are acquaintances. These are people who for some reason or another connected with each other. But some of the businesses that are appearing these days, you know, guys are buying trainers and then selling them almost immediately at 2, 3, 4 times the price they paid. Now, who'd have thought that would be a business? I know somebody a young person who's buying trainers and then painting them.
Wow.
And these unique individual styles of painting, people are paying hundreds of pounds for this to happen.
That is cool, though, eh?
Now, these are businesses that 10 years ago would never have existed or would have been out there, you know, off the wall.
So the old business world has kind of changed then.
Massively.
Massively. But again, are we saying that as it's lost its integrity and just become more of a win-win in a sense of a money win rather than, I mean, when you talk about that unique business painting trainers, that's very different because someone is creating something that's very close to somebody's heart, very personal. But there's other businesses, and this isn't to say that, you know, people shouldn't have the incentive to create something that can be quick, but you know, my thought is about, okay, what's the integrity behind what you're doing there, and how is that feeding into the health of the economy?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
But look, I love the creative way that young people are coming up with new and ingenious ways of earning money. as you say, the challenge is how does that then circulate through the economy, and how do we grow as or develop as a local economy? That's a tough one. In Wales, what I would say is I think in Wales we do very, very well as a local economy, because you've got that. What are we now? 2.5, 3 million people in Wales,
Yeah.
and it's almost like a community of 3 million people.
Yeah.
You know, it's as you know, I was involved and still am involved with a process called Global Welsh, and we connect to Welsh people around the world. There are 3 million people connected to Wales outside of the world,
Wow.
outside of Wales, and we're trying to connect everyone back to Wales. You know, it's an interesting concept, and I'd like to think that we're bringing wealth back into Wales, and also giving Welsh people the opportunity to spread and connect to other parts of the world. But I do think that we need to have ways of generating revenue that constantly recirculates back in our local economy. The circular economy, as I think many people call it.
Well, I'd never heard of that. And again, this is why I love having time with you, because you bring a vocabulary into my awareness that I haven't heard of before. And you know, I want to share this with everybody, is that you come from a very unprivileged background, and that doesn't mean, you know, you had a beautiful childhood, I'm sure, because of who you are.
I had a great childhood.
Yeah, but you know, and I remember
family.
you sharing this with me once, is that, you know, your first bed was a drawer in a chest of drawers as a baby, you know. And we did mention this on the last take, but it's like you just got to bring it in, Dave, because, you know, did you keep those chest of drawers, by the way?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I think, Paul, you know, when you're living in the Rhondda Valleys, as I was born in 1965, so I'm giving my age away there. But my mum and dad married at 21, both of them, and I was born 9 months later, however many months later, but mum and dad moved in with my grandparents, who also had 5 other sons, and they all lived in a 2-bedroom house. So you can imagine, I mean, where else can you put a baby?
Wow.
You know, there was only one place for me to go, and it was
in
great.
The sock drawer.
In the sock drawer, yeah, it was great because it was lovely and soft. So yeah, I reckon this is probably why I've got short legs. What can I say? It's one of those things. You know, were we any different? Were we any worse off? No, we weren't. I mean, the Rhondda Valley was a community that hasn't changed a huge amount. You know, we're not amongst the most wealthy people in Wales, but it was a great community. I had a fantastic childhood. I made great friends who I still regard as friends now, 57 years later. My mum and dad, I remember when my mum passed away, one of my friends who had gone to London, and he came back for the funeral, and he said to me, and I got very emotional about it, he said to me, Dave, your house was a second home to us all.
Really?
He said, your mother never locked the front door. We never knocked the door. We always came up to the door, pushed it open, walked in. Said, hi, is Dave there? And if you weren't there, your mother would say, yeah, sit around, he'll be back soon. And my friends used to come back with me after we'd gone out for a few beers. We were a little older then, obviously. They would come back with me, and my mother would get up. First thing she would say, fancy an omelette, guys?
Wow, isn't
and
it?
she would make them food, supper, 11:30 at night after having a few beers. It was just a wonderful place to live. It still is a lovely place to live.
The openness of your home when you was a child really matches the openness of your heart, Dave, that's for sure. I just want to make this about you, and you know, as hard as that's going to be, you know, your wife loves you for a reason. Your boys love you for a reason, and that's because of how influential you are in your emotional giving. You are a very, very giving person. You know, and I have no, you know, you helped me out a lot, even financially, when I didn't have the fees to pay for my mastermind process. You know, you put that aside, and that meant so much to me at that time in my life. Because myself and wife, you know, we didn't, you know, our business was going through a tough time, and you said, Paul, don't worry, man, don't worry. And you'd invested a lot of time into me during those 12 months, 16, 18 months, I think maybe even longer than that. You know, and there's a huge heartfelt gratitude for that time there for helping myself and my wife. You know, underlyingly, you didn't know, but you helped us a lot because that was a high invoice that I should have put forward, and I didn't have it. But here's the thing is that your support system, you created because you had a desire, a craving to help people, you know, have a process where they could go somewhere and be in a safe environment to really deep dive, you know, the success of their business. You know, where did that come from in a sense of why was that important to you to create that ecosystem?
I think it came from the fact that I guess, as you mentioned earlier, we have started a number of businesses over the years, and each time you realize how lonely it is. You know, you can't take the problems you encounter, you can't take them back to your wife, you can't take them to your kids. Very often you can't take them to your friends because they're not going through the same thing, and therefore when you're sharing a pint with them, you can't tell them about the troubles of the day, because they're going to just get very bored very quickly, and they're going to want to talk about football or rugby again, or their own love lives, or something that's going on with their life, you know. So I realized that the loneliness of being a business owner is something that has the capacity to really massively impact your mind, because when the stresses just build up and build up, something's going to explode. And so I was lucky that I had a business partner, am lucky. I have a business partner, Darren. You know Darren, you've met him many, many times. Darren's been fantastic. He's completely the opposite to me. Absolutely the opposite. If I say yes, he says no. You know, he is the yin to my yang in a business sense, you know. And so he's a completely risk-averse person. I'm a risk taker through and through. It doesn't matter to me. If I lose everything tomorrow, I'll start back again next Monday and build it back up. But the benefit, and this is the great thing, in business, if you fail, then you always fail forward. And so what happens is when you start again...
Say that again, you always fail forward.
Forward, yeah.
Wow, see, you just say these things, they're beautiful.
But it's great, isn't it? Because people, we're always, we're always nervous about failure. In fact, many of us don't try anything because we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to feel like a failure. But if you realize that it's not a mistake, it's just something you've learned, then suddenly that failing forward gives you the opportunity to try again. But you're not trying again from the same point, are you? You're trying the same thing again, but you're further forward than you were yesterday. So now it's failing forward. And so now you have an opportunity to start again with yesterday's experience, and the day before's experience, and the year before, and so on. And so now, if I'm 57, if it all crashes around me tomorrow, I'll start again next Monday, but I've got 57 years of experience now.
Wow. So
I'm starting again.
So we're saying there's no such thing as failure, just opportunities then?
There isn't. No. There's never... whoever came up with that word needs to be shot. They do.
I heard once, there's never a problem, only a puzzle.
Absolutely. What a great sentence. I love that.
It's really helped me a lot.
I love it, yeah.
And when I say once, I think it was maybe about 2 years ago I actually heard that someone say that to me, Paul, is never a problem, only a puzzle. And that just really flipped on its head what I was feeling at the time, and just made everything so much more exciting. For sure.
Brilliant. I love the sentence.
It's beautiful, and there's loads of those about. But coming back, you know, with the mastermind process you had up there, what was the most important thing about that whole system? Because, I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of people out there doing masterminds and summits and all these kinds of things. But what was important for you when you designed your mastermind process?
Wow, what a great question.
I mean, I knew I knew if I threw technical stuff in, you'd get there because you philosophize in such a wonderful way. You know? So what was important to you? You know, because it clearly wasn't, you know, just about what it was generating, because you were putting a lot financially into that process.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about the buck you were making. So what are we looking at? The emotional growth, the support system, having the correct leaders in there.
I think if I take the question and look at it from two perspectives, if you don't mind. So, what was the greatest thing for me was the vulnerability-based trust that allowed everybody the freedom to grow.
Yeah.
So, coming into a room where you knew nothing you said or did was going to be judged. You know, if you failed yesterday, then it didn't matter because everyone else in the room also knows that we're there and we're failing forward. We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're all going to find ways of how not to do something. But then we're going to learn from that and say, right, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I will do this, but I'll try it slightly differently.
Yeah.
Now, but sharing that in an environment where you can all trust each other, I think that allowed everybody that came through the process, it allows you to grow without fear. Because that's the real problem.
Yeah.
It's the fear thing that stops us all the time.
Yeah.
Fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of being of letting other people down, fear of other people just not wanting to be around you anymore. You know, when you have that fear behind you, you never do anything. It's paralyzing.
Yeah.
You won't try anything new. You won't want to make a mistake. So, hey, what's the point?
Yeah. And fear is basically an inherited emotion. We choose fear for sure because we feel in something that's not happened, which is again is a crazy emotion in itself for sure.
You know the saying, right? Fear is false evidence appearing real.
Really? Wow, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Let's say that again for our listeners.
False evidence appearing real.
Man.
So it's the fear of the unknown, right? It's ignorance. And I know the word ignorance is overused and in a negative way again, but ignorance just means I don't know the answer. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It just means I don't know the answer. I like to add the word yet at the end. But when we know, when we gain the knowledge that we need, suddenly the false evidence is no longer appearing real. So we eliminate the fear, we reduce it gradually, and then we eliminate it completely.
Wow.
And then it gives us the freedom to move forward. The second part, I said I'd split it into two parts. There was a selfishness in it as well. I love to learn, and you can learn from books, you can learn from tapes, you can learn from CDs, audiobooks, whatever. But the best learning of all is from people.
Yeah.
So when I launched the mastermind groups that I had, you know what is it? Somebody once said when one person teaches, two people learn. And from my point of view, I wasn't teaching, I was mentoring and I was coaching, but I was also learning. So for me, it was phenomenal. The growth for me, I just can't thank everybody that came through that process enough.
You know, again, you're a very modest person, and so let's just talk about some of your accolades. You know, I'll say my count was up to 33 businesses. You know, where are we now with our count? Has it increased?
Yeah. The last time you and I had a conversation like this, I said, "That's it. Now I'm cutting back."
Yeah.
And I'm pulling out, and to some extent I have, but we have created 3 more businesses since then.
Wow.
And the latest one is downstairs in this building, where we have a new restaurant stroke kitchen, which is Cole's Kitchen.
Yeah.
2 young people that I met last year, and Michelle and my wife, as you know, Paul,
Very
is
patient wife, by the way.
incredibly patient wife and tolerant. You know, I've said this to you before. You know, behind every supposedly successful man is a very surprised woman, and Michelle is completely shocked. But what I would say is Michelle is kind of she spent the last 3 years educating herself and learning all about health and well-being.
Oh wow!
In fact, you touched on something earlier, and it reminded me of Michelle's favorite saying, and that's the greatest wealth is health. And that's brilliant. It's phenomenal, and she's doing really well. And she's now the 2 of us have invested in this kitchen with these lovely young people who are building a. Let me see if I can get this right. It's a restaurant quality, healthy food delivered in a street food style.
Wow.
So yeah, it's an interesting concept,
Yeah.
and we're having a bit of fun working with them, and it's been some hard work for the last few months, but yeah, it's...
So let me jump in. So we have 36 businesses in, to my count. I'm not great on maths, but what I do hear from yourself, I mean, every conversation, and this is conversations outside of Dave Dean environment also, is that you are someone that invests to invest in the people, not into the money.
Yeah.
You always, whenever you see an idea, it's about how that's going to improve, you know, the health of the economy, the health of people's mindsets, the health of people. So I've seen a pattern there for many years. From what from the time I have spent, it was that you don't invest in businesses, you invest in people.
Yeah.
It's such a different approach.
Yeah.
And do you think that kind of investment is growing now? You know, coming out of COVID, we've definitely become, we're not business to business anymore. We're actually not people to people. We're heart to heart, I believe, in business now.
That's great. I love that.
It's become more internal in people wanting to do business with each other.
Yeah.
And, the coin is coming after. You know, I was once told by a mentor that, one of my favorite mentors that actually worked for you in my mastermind process, Stephen, he said to me, you know, the byproduct of a good business, of happiness, is actually money. You know, in a business, a byproduct of that. So if you're chasing it, then you're unhappy. If you're happy, it'll come anyway, because, you know, as a famous quote from Branson, do good, have fun, the business will come. Yeah. And but very much your stance is all this mixed in to, you know what, I actually want to do business with people, not with business. I mean, that must be a risk also.
But life's a risk, though, isn't it?
I knew you were going to come back with something super modest and super caring, you know.
It is, though. But as I said, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Every time it's a risk. And by the way, Steve, you know, Steve has been a phenomenal influence on my life as well. He's been great. He's been involved in our businesses now for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an incredible character. He's got a wealth of experience. He's got an incredible sense of humour, and very, very strong influence and big part of our organisation.
I love that. You just give a whole 90 seconds to Steve, you know. I mean, that's what I love about you. It's like you just charge in and you'll say, do you know what, I want to give that person a highlight. He's done a lot for me.
He has.
And in this conversation, listeners, it's fair to say that, you know, a small portion, as hard as I am directing it back to Dave all the time in the conversation, you sway it back out to give the kudos to everybody else.
That's right, though, isn't it?
You do it beautifully all the time.
But Paul, that's the thing is, as I said, I don't know if it was on this session or the other session we had, but, you know, we can't, right? What is it they say? No man is an island, right? So no business can ever survive on one guy. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about Mark Zuckerberg behind Facebook, Jeff Bezos behind Amazon, you know, Steve Jobs behind Apple. But the truth was, they were just the face of the businesses. Yeah. And yes, they were incredibly influential. They all have been. But the business wasn't one guy, isn't one guy. It's hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And I've been very, very lucky to have some really, really strong people that I could rely on, I could trust. Yeah, and
but let me
backpedal
you, Dave, because, you know, when you decide to take up a new business with someone,
generally,
you know, people say, okay, well, let me measure the market, let me measure, I mean, we could use smart, use whatever we want, DISC, because I know you know DISC and all these beautiful things, very much. You know, we could use all these things, but you're more of a heartfelt person where it's like, I like that person.
Yeah.
I like what that person's doing. Do you know what? I think the idea is okay, but I like the person more, so it's going to work. You know, that I've seen that being your approach many times in many conversations we've had there. And, you know, again, that must be a high risk.
It can be, and it doesn't always work. It would be unfair on individuals for me to say those that didn't work. But you're absolutely right. So I have this thing, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? But I have this flaw, some people call it. So I trust everybody 100% the minute I meet them, okay? And it's for them to lose my trust. The problem is when they've lost my trust, it kind of, that's the end. So I then move on. And as I've told you before, Paul, I'm kind of a business butterfly. I kind of, you have to grab my attention, but then hold it. Otherwise, I'm on to the next business idea and the next one. And I find that sometimes you can put your faith and your trust in people, and they don't always grab the opportunity with both hands. So there's almost a level of expectation. And then when it doesn't come easily or freely, they're lost because they haven't really got the inclination to put the effort in themselves.
Accountability, do you feel, is hugely important?
Massive.
And
Massive,
let's say mind accountability rather than physical accountability. You know, we have to have that stamina, do you feel, that think stamina?
Oh, yeah. It's a great point. I love that think. Yeah, I love the think stamina.
We have to have it, you know.
Now this again it touches on the changes in the economy, I guess, right? But with the new economy that we're facing now, the technology economy, what is it? I read something the other day. Almost all of the photographs ever taken in history have been taken in the last 10 years.
Wow.
That's just phenomenal, isn't it?
How do you comprehend that? How do you measure that?
Exactly. It's, prior to that, we would have been talking, obviously photography's been around for decades, 100 years or more, whatever. I don't know when it first was invented, but it's something crazy like, that curve was a small growing curve, and then all of a sudden we're now with the inventions of smartphones and digital photography. Nowadays, people are taking photographs every 5 or 10 seconds. Yeah. I went out just before Christmas to celebrate with the staff, and we went in a bar, had some food. We went in the bar to have a couple of drinks, and almost everybody around me was taking selfies. Yeah. I mean, what is this?
We don't have to shake it anymore, do we, to get that little photo?
Yeah, that Polaroid is gone. So now we've got people taking photographs all over the place, and those photographs are now finding their way straight into social media, TikTok, Facebook, whatever your choice is, Instagram these days. And yet again, further affecting the minds of those who are not in that environment at that time. Oh, so-and-so's out enjoying themselves again. Somebody else has gone for another meal. What do we do?
It's like we have to be almost like a semi-celebrity now to be successful, is what it's deemed at. You have to be like in a goldfish bowl. Yeah. Which for some is very easy, some is very intruding, for sure. So when we look ahead, when we look at the day, Dean, ahead, obviously you still have the same energy for business. Or do you get your time to think, do you know what? I've had my innings in the business world. I've enjoyed it. And it's time now to actually, because I see you, I've seen you on social media, out and about, trekking, rambling. I've seen you on your bikes and things. So you're definitely a man that likes to get out and likes to have a life. Yeah,
I do. And as you know, Michelle and I like to go to Spain and spend some time. Where else? Ronda in Spain. I need to be careful. Yes, there are times where at 57 you have to say, I can't be going at the same speed anymore. The trouble is then, I end up in conversations with people and I see another opportunity. So crazily, I go home and I say to Michelle, well, I might just have a little look at this. And she just looks at me as if to say, I'm never going to change you. I probably, I can just see me. I've got this idea for cardboard coffins.
Oh wow! So, that is environmentally better, the way.
Well, of course, that's the thing. So I as you know, Paul, I help another friend promote their business by doing the video to sell funeral plans.
Okay, I actually saw that video.
Yeah. Which it's had several million views now.
Wow.
Which is great for him. He's got some great business out of it. I wish I'd actually put something on there for my image rights and maybe give me a penny for every time it's been seen or something. But there you go. But as somebody said to me, "Oh, you're the man who does funerals." And I said, "No, I'm not." But now I've got this damn thing stuck
Okay.
with me. I've been stereotyped, or what do they call it? Stereocasted, or
Pigeonholed, you could call
typecasted, or
it,
whatever
yeah,
they call it. Anyway, I was sat there thinking one afternoon, I've got a printing business. Suddenly I'm being associated with funerals. Maybe I could make cardboard coffins. There's got to be something to that. Because they recycle. Well, you can't be recyclable, can they? They're just going to disintegrate in the ground. But yeah, it's,
On a fraction
I've
of the
gone off at a
cost.
really weird tangent now. I think that, to come back to answer your question, have I still got an appetite? Yes, sadly I have, because my brain, until my final day, I guess, my brain is going to constantly be thinking about what else can I do to impact either my local economy or anywhere. If I can have an impact somewhere, then I'd love to do that.
You know, so Risk Monitor, I mean, we could talk about all your businesses, but we haven't got enough shows for that. So let's talk about Risk Monitor. I mean, this is where your, what's taking your concentration now? Is this where your heart is at the moment?
Yep, yeah, it is.
So what's Risk Monitor about?
So Risk Monitor helps organizations of varying sizes to manage their compliance, essentially. You know, every business, Paul, as you know, has various legal requirements, statutory, mandatory, regulatory, where the governments of the world will say, you must follow these rules, and then you have to prove that you followed it. And strangely, the law in compliance is different to the law in crime. In criminal law, we are innocent until we are proven guilty.
Yeah.
But in compliance law, then you're guilty until you can prove you took all the steps necessary to avoid the incident. Because essentially, if something goes wrong, then that's evidence that it's a failure. Therefore, you are guilty, or something's guilty. And I say something, as in it could be a system failure. But Risk Monitor is, we've been building software now for a long time to help organizations track, identify, track, manage, and report all of their statutory compliance requirements. So,
what's the website for Risk Monitor there?
It's called riskmonitor.net, and our
software
software is called ramis.com.
Okay.
So it's Ramis really, and the website is ramis.com. But we have some ambitions, and we're very excited about this thing that we think we can do, and I can't share exactly what it is because there's a certain amount of intellectual property to that. But yeah, I think we're close to being able to take that outside of the UK and spread it, to English-speaking countries first, and then we've got work on a language capability, so we can take it across Europe and elsewhere after that.
You've always had that expansive heart in business. That's who you are. But then my question is, well, how are you going? So when we start a business, we often think about the exit when it's kind of too late to actually be able to exit the business. So many of us are tied in. I, for one, and I know that I haven't created any exit strategy, and I have to. Do you think that this is something you should be looking at the very early days? How are you going to create your exit strategy when you're so entwined into what you do?
I wish I'd learned this myself in the early days. I've been doing this for 35 years now, and if somebody had told me 35 years ago that I should be planning my exit then, I would probably have laughed at them. But the reality of it is, you should. And so every time I speak to somebody now about they're starting their business, and they just ask me a few questions, and I say, first thing you've got to think about now is, how do you get out of your business? What do you mean? I haven't even got into it.
Wow.
Yeah, but plan it now. Start the process. Michael Gerber very famously said in his book, The E-Myth, every business has to be sold. You've got to design it to sell it. And if you haven't sold it, then you bought it.
Wow.
So is it worth what you're paying?
Yeah.
Because most people are paying through sweat equity. They're putting the hours in all the time. They're putting 30, 40, 50, 80, 100 hours in. I know people who are working, a friend of my son's is working 14 hours a day He's got a 40-minute cycle ride to get to his
Wow.
coffee bar in London, and a 40-minute cycle ride home, obviously. But he's working 14 hours a day, and then he has an hour and 20 minutes journey
Wow.
to and from the office. It's an incredible, and he's on the side, he's also learning to be a doctor.
Wow.
Now,
I mean, if you have the energy for it,
that's
okay. But,
fantastic.
You know,
But hey, what's his out?
Yeah.
He's got no way out. He's the only person in that business. He opens up in the morning,
Yeah.
he cleans, he preps everything, he's working all day, and then he has to clean again at the end of the day. And
that's it.
how does he get out of that?
When you're a technician in the business also, you love stacking the shelves, you love having
Yep.
everything organised. That's my downfall, is that I work too much in, because that's what I thrive my most, rather than working on.
Yeah.
And but then, you know, when we look at this and you think, okay, so now you're planning to exit, and you say, recreate that journey so you know you're going to exit out the business. But for some, it's become their identity.
Yeah.
You know, just leaving your business, stepping out your business, selling it, you know, that's a loss of identity and also well-being issue, we could say.
Yeah.
And also come back to Dave Dean, who was this thriving, you know, 36 business person up to this given point in life, you know. How are you going to reinvent you, ready to actually say, well, actually, my business week this year is I'm just gonna, I'm gonna walk all around Wales. I'm gonna ramble. That's my investment. How are you going to actually prevent yourself from? Well, I don't need a meeting. That's not part. My meeting is actually with Michelle.
Yeah.
That's my meeting. I mean, that's a big deal for a lot of business people.
Yeah, it is. I think the advice that I would give any business owner is that you need the worst case scenario. You've heard of the phrase single point of failure, right? SPOF.
Not until now.
Well, single points of failure are the most dangerous thing in any business. It means that when that person is no longer there, it becomes a point of failure.
Oh, wow. So
People going on holidays, if a system revolves around one person, they go off on holiday or they call in sick, that's it. You all your assembly line or your business processes stop at that point.
Yeah.
Because nobody understands the system to take over from that person. And the worst person of all in every business is the owner, because they wrap everything around themselves.
Yeah.
We wrap everything around ourselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no different. I am probably the world's worst.
Yeah.
So I am busy unwrapping myself, so to speak, and finding ways of building systems and processes that other people can use. And they're really difficult because they're difficult to create in the first place, but they're even harder to maintain. Because what happens is when you create processes that other people then take up and they follow, they tend to find ways of refining them. And so they refine the system until it wraps itself around them.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But you don't see it happening.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're no longer around, and you bring somebody else in to do a job, and they say, oh, how do I deal with this? Or have you got something else? And all of a sudden you realize flaws have appeared in that system.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, and you have to be on top of it, not only to create the system in the first place, but to manage that process.
Wow.
And
it's such an intricate, understanding. And, so we're coming to the end of the show here, sadly. I mean, it's been such an amazing opportunity to have these conversations with you, Dave, and basically dig into your mindset. Because I know that I've only scratched the surface today. I could do another 10 of these shows for sure. And it would be amazing to see, to have the Dave Dean Mastermind process out there again, because it's something that's very much missed in the business world for sure. Again, because you're so modest, you fail to see how important you are to people and to the success.
It's very kind of you to say.
No, very much. So we are wrapping it up, listeners. We've come to the end of the show, sadly. I mean, we've got to end somewhere, do you know what I mean? But it's been amazing. Thank you ever so much for your time, Dave.
You're welcome, Paul.
Listeners, you have an amazing, healthy thinking week. And please jump on. You put Dave Dean and you'll find him anywhere. You are out there, do you know what I mean? Yeah,
That's worrying.
Well, yeah, you are out there for sure. But I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure that, give it a couple of months, I'll reach out and we see where you are again. But thank you ever so much for these opportunities. And till this time next week, listeners, bye for now.